I'm out for my walk this morning, and I mean, it's just everything is in bloom, and the birds are singing. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous right now. What a beautiful day. Okay, so I just wanted to pop on real quick because the guides have been in my ear, and I know I haven't put out my monthly theme yet. I've been pretty good about that, of doing it right on that first week of the month, but you know, life happens. And so, you know, I kind of wanted to talk about what my teachings are going to be this month, and just honoring the mother energy, the maternal energy of May, the support that's coming in from Spirit and Mother Earth for us to make really big monumental changes in our lives, go deeper into our truth, our authenticity, our higher purpose. And so inside of the lessons of the mind-body connection that I've been doing over the last few months, I thought how appropriate to just focus on the feminine energy in our lives, in our bodies, and how that creates balance and support in our mind-body connection. The chakras in the bodies, I don't know if you know this about the chakras, but they alternate between feminine and masculine energy. And it's how we attract in balance and support in our lives, especially inside of relationships and partnerships. So the sacral, the heart, the third eye, and then the transcendental point. You know, we have these areas of the body specifically that function inside of feminine energy. And depending on the kind of feminine energy that we've had in our lives in a supportive nature and what our interaction has been, that can actually show up in the body in really interesting ways. All based on what the mind believes, what the expectations are. I know for me personally, my mother was my safe space growing up, almost to the point of taking her for granted. I realize this now that I'm a mother. You know, what a difficult job it is being a parent. Holy cow. I mean, I've never had anything make me feel so inadequate in my life than being a mother, because there's no manual. You know, it's like you pop out a human being and then they just send you on your way. Okay, go home now, you know, and go raise this new soul, and try not to mess it up. You know, it really is one of the most beautiful challenges that you can face in your life. And a lot of us show up as mothers in other ways. And, you know, I think that it's been showing up for me lately is I'm digging into my relationships and my support systems, which I'm just going to go ahead and give a shout out to Charlene right now, because she has just guided me so deeply into medical astrology and intuitive astrology, and really being able to understand myself in a really deep and profound new way, especially in those areas that are hidden in the chart. And I do feel like we're very supported right now in the revelation of those things. Moving into your authentic self is about being more visible. And I think sometimes we hesitate to put ourselves out there because of lack of support in our lives, or perceived lack of support. And I think that I put a lot more pressure on the women in my life to show up for me, because I just took it for granted that my mother would always be there, no matter what. And so to all those women that I have in my life, thank you, because I know that It is not uncommon to be taken for granted for how you show up for someone. And we have those people, and the lucky few of us that are able to experience relationships where there is an energy exchange of gratitude and appreciation. And that's truly when we feel supported, right? Because what we're putting out into the world and what we're attempting to give is seen. We feel seen. We feel appreciated. That person is open to receiving what we have to give, and that completes the cycle of expression. And so, I know for me, that's been a big learning curve, especially over the last couple of weeks. I'm a very Plutonian person. We've had a lot of Scorpio and Pluto energy. I mean, it gets complicated, especially when you look at astrology. I had a lot of things playing in. But really understanding the unrealistic expectations that I was putting on people in my life. And it all came down to what I wasn't willing to give myself, what I wasn't willing to support myself in. And a lot of that was like sitting just under the surface, still not fully conscious for me. And it was actually through Charlene's coaching and my chart that I was able to really see part of my dharma in my chart was to just love myself so hard that I would become visible. That it wasn't up to anybody else to do that for me. That was my job. And that I was literally designed at the moment of my birth with my sun, my moon, my Mercury, which I'm a Virgo rising, so it's one of my most important planets, my Chiron. Everything is right inside that 8th house, which is the house of hidden. So pretty much all the most important parts of myself were inside a hidden house in the chart. That was like a mind-blowing moment for me. It's like, my goodness, thank goodness he made me an Aries, because Aries is the most visible sign in the chart. So there's some balance there, but that means it was my responsibility to grow into that. Not to place that expectation of support outside of myself. Because what happens when you place expectations on another person? You're going to get disappointed over and over again. Because most of the time we don't even realize that we've created a role or an expectation for another person in our lives. So it's like this telepathic expectation of like, well, you should just know what I need. You should know how to support me. And often that person doesn't. I mean, think about it from your own perspective and the relationships that you're in. If you were to consume your day thinking about every single person that you love and how at any moment of any day you could support them, right? You'd have no time to manifest anything for yourself because you'd be so wrapped up in everyone else and how you're supposed to be serving them that you wouldn't get anything done in your own development. And so if that's true, and like I think to myself, like, I generally am not very good in relationships that I would label as high maintenance. And I'm sure many of you are the same. So we have to really check ourselves inside of the support structures we've created for ourselves. And why have you drawn in certain kinds of people? It's a really interesting thing to look at. Because if you're using another person in your life and the way that they are or are not supporting you as an excuse of why things aren't happening, well, then that comes down to you. Because you get to choose how you're going to love yourself. You get to choose how you're going to support yourself. And part of that process is asking for what you need instead of waiting for the other person to just know, right? It's like if you really need something, I guarantee those people that you're like, yeah, that person's really self-absorbed, or yeah, that person is blah, blah, blah. I guarantee that in the moment that you would ask for what you need, they would be there in a heartbeat. So our mind does this amazing thing to like cast this shadow out, all based on our own limiting beliefs of where we expect to be supported and where we automatically expect there not to be support, right? So this is what I mean about my expectation of the females in my life are probably a lot higher than that of the men. So it's out of balance. I've also put a lot more focus on healing my relationship with masculine energy because that was an obvious theme in my life, very overt. So it's the obvious wound to go for. Meanwhile, in the hard drive, I have all of these programmed truths and limiting beliefs programmed into the feminine energy that are still asking for healing. And so I think it's a really cool thing for us to focus on in the month of May because we have major foundational shifts, right? Like the earth is moving. Remember in my May forecast, I was talking about earthquakes, storms, like the literal movement of the earth, the literal movement of Mother Nature in her power, right? That feminine power of rebirthing, healing, doing what needs to be done to speak her truth and say, pay attention to me because this is what I need. And wouldn't you know it, I had somebody, shoot me a message the day after my forecast went live to show me images of these Doppler things, where they're measuring the vibrations in the earth. And when you know it, there was like more than a dozen earthquakes on the West Coast in Hawaii and off the West Coast of the United States. So she's getting started, man, right out of the gate, wasting no time to start using the opportunity to shift energy. And we should all be doing that. We should all be shaking the earth under our feet. So we're going to talk about that this month. Specifically, I'm going to guide you into those areas of the body. We're going to talk about it from an energetic standpoint of what the sacral, what the heart, what that third eye, what all of these things are doing in your body as far as from a vibrational perspective to support the flow of the feminine aspect through physical, emotional, mental, and spirit bodies, and how you can start to identify these patterns in your life that perhaps you may have come across them, but they just aren't fully conscious yet. And I mean, that's what we're in, right? We're in truth, we're in liberation, we're in freedom, and that's what this year is all about. And so we have to figure out the ways that we are enslaving ourselves in order to truly liberate and move toward a more authentic version of ourselves that is embedded in purpose. And so we will start from the ground up this month. So I hope you'll come and visit. I'm sure that this will be between podcast and live. I'm hoping to have some of my other experts in my circles join me to talk about this energy movement in the body and how to bring balance, how to birth this new version of yourself that is trying to come into being between the Taurus and Gemini energy this month. This is where we really bring things into form and we allow it to be communicated out into the world in a new and healthy way. So I hope you guys get out, enjoy this gorgeous weather. Sending you all love, light, healing.